Right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Lachlan Shire Council meeting, ordinary meeting, the 25th of March 2026. And thank you very much for your attendance. And I'd just like to say that after last month, the Lake Angelica episode, I'd just like to mention that once again, like how sad we are, and that things haven't progressed any further, which is very disappointing. But we know what can happen with that, so that's good. And the other one I'd like to mention too is Ray Donald, who was the Mayor of Boganshire for some 24 years, and he passed away very suddenly, within 8 days. So it was his funeral last week, so that was another very sad occasion, because he was a pretty dynamic person when it came to regional local government. He was the leader of our team at one stage, so it's just, you just never know. You get to enjoy everything the way it is. And just before I do open up the meeting, I just want to mention again about the statements. The statements, they are finished, they're signed off, and I'd just like to make a big congratulations to Karen and her staff for getting that together and making it happen. It's nearly back to back, and she's looking forward to maybe getting them on time this time coming October, and as she puts her hands together. And but it's not all our own fault and that sort of thing. It might be staff, it's the auditor and everything else. We've all got to work together to get these things out, but it is a very significant thing for our council to be able to get that done. So thank you for that. And so first of all,
thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've also got Anita in with us today. I'd just like to pass on my thanks to her as well. She's been just a silent powerhouse behind it as well, so we have worked very closely onto that. So I asked her to come in today. Right,
so that's Anita, Marie, and Debbie, is it? Demi? Yeah. Yes.
She's not part of the podcast.
Is there a certain point I'm not a part of them? But anyway, it's very good of you to be here to hear us out. All right, please note that today's meeting, other than the confidential sessions, are being recorded and will be placed on Council's website. All in attendance should refrain from defamatory statements. Council takes all care when maintaining privacy. However, members of the public gallery and those addressing Council should be aware that you may be recorded. And acknowledgement to country, I've been asked to do that. Acknowledgement of country. Lachlan Shire Council acknowledges the Wiradjuri people as the traditional custodians of this land. We recognise their strength and resilience and pay respects to elders past and present, and emerging, and all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders people who are a part of the Lachlan Shire community. Now, apologies, and apologies we've got, I think we've got, I'll ask Ian to read them out.
We've got apologies from Councillor Phillips and Councillor Bartholomew. Thank you.
Right, so everybody else. Thank you, Councillor Brady. Seconder, Councillor Harris. All those in favour? Those against? That is carried. Right, now we move to confirmations of the minutes of the ordinary meeting, the 25th of February 2026. Would someone like to move that true and correct recording of that particular meeting? And it's Councillor Brady and Councillor Turner. So if there's no further conversation, read the minutes. Those in favour? Those against? That is carried. Now moving along to...
We have a late item for closed. Can we move to accept a late item?
All right. Can we move that we've got a late item for closed session, which is the Condobolin SRA netball court resurfacing? So Councillor Harris, Councillor Turner. No dissension. All those in favour? Those against? That is carried. All right. Moving on to page 21, Mayoral Minute, 5.1, Mayoral Minute meetings, of which the Mayor and Deputy Mayor have been attending during the last month. Wow. I move Councillor Harris, second up. Councillor Turner, correction.
Correction is I'd love to know where the time machine is available. Can I use it? 25th of the 3rd, 2025, ordinary meeting for the Council for the Mayor of Condobolin. 25th of the 3rd, 2025, ordinary meeting of Council for Condobolin for the Deputy Mayor. Rather than 26th. You've got that on yours,
Mine's still the 25th. I haven't got...
Yeah, it should be 26. 2026.
Oh, right, I've got the wrong end. Well picked up, Pete.
Sorry.
Thanks, Pete.
I'll be very disappointed if you.
Ed was in the time machine.
I know you were trained by Robert Hunt. With that, with that correction, would someone like to move? All those in favour? Those against? That is carried. Well done. Right, page 22, 6, public forum. Haven't got the public forum. And 7 is disclosure of interest. I have one disclosure of interest from Councillor Harris. To read the what's the
Proposed support letter.
Oh, so-
9.1.2.
9.1.2, which is a support letter for the motel, and because he's on the Western Planning Committee. And now we have another one here from Dennis Brady.
Same item.
Same item, 9.1, and I'm the member of the triple. All right. Right. So we're going to move them to, I suppose.
Yeah, same.
Someone like to move that those two? You're right. No, we're not up in the business paper. We're just doing disclosures of interest, and I have 2 disclosures of interest that have been handed in, and both are on the same item, which was 9.1.2. All right. Right. Someone like to move that? We've received those 2. So Councillor Turner, seconder. Councillor Mortimer. All those in favour? Those against? That is carried. Right, now to page 23, read and note. Would someone like to
Move the recommendation.
move the recommendation? Councillor Mortimer. Councillor Harris and Councillor Mortimer, that is read and note from 8.1 to 8.7. Is that right? And seconded by Councillor Mortimer. Nobody. Someone like to? So with the mover and second, like to do 8.1 to 8.6. Got Councillor Mortimer. All those in favour? Those against? Those carried. Right, now 8.7. Would you like to move that? Did we reread it? Did you want to speak on it? So move. Yeah, Councillor Blewett and Councillor Harris. Right, where you go, Councillor.
I'd just like to talk about what I call Melrose Road from the railway crossing probably back to Palliston Road intersection. I just want an update on where we're up to on repairs because it is in a horrible state at the moment. I just want an overview of where we're at and where we're going with it, please.
And is the contractor going to fix it again?
Yeah, and is it a contractual thing that we can get it fixed, or just an overview would be great?
I'll hand it over to our Director, Adrian.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. In short, we are continuing discussions with the contractor. As recently as half an hour ago, discussions continue. We've committed to getting a compromise, and we're looking to do the repairs and the full reseal by the end of April. Exact dates to be confirmed, but that is the goal and that is the intention of both parties working together.
Does that answer your question, Councillor? You're up to date. Yep.
And I need a follow-up too, so
It's your question. You follow up first.
Councillor.
Mine is if it's looking at starting the repairs the end of April. What are we doing in the meantime to ensure road user safety?
We have patched the smaller areas, Mr. Mayor, and we have signs out there. And we understand that there are some significant holes, but we believe the signage is adequate. We understand the frustrations of the road users in the poor condition and the apparent lack of progress in completing the repairs, but the progress is being made behind the scenes, and the work should be completed by the end of April, not started by the end of April. So.
Alrighty, no more questions? Right.
with the signage, I drove that road on Saturday and Sunday. I'm not sure the signage is adequate, and there are some very significant damage to that road. So the more signage, the better. At the start and at the end, in the middle, it's just, yeah, it's bad. So if we can get more signage, that'd be great. The second part is council going to be releasing a media release to inform the public of what's actually occurring and what we're doing for that road? Because there's a lot of angst in the community about the state of it.
Adrian, Director.
Mr. Mayor, I think we can release a statement. It would be difficult to release it until confirmation of timing occurs. And once that happens, then we'd be best placed to release information that is accurate and true. To respond to Facebook comments and discussions, let's say, would only be adding fuel to the fire, and I don't believe would be productive to respond in real time to Facebook opinions.
All right, answer your question. Yeah, I think he's trying to do his best to make it happen. What?
Can get green.
Well, oh, sorry.
The
Councillor
flood.
Brady, you,
Okay, thanks.
there you go.
The flood recovery has taken a long time to do, and I know because money's been slowly coming to do it. When will all this be finished? When can you have all this? Because it seems to be before they're actually finished, they start to break up again. Is there a reason why this is happening? Is there poor quality workmanship, or is what's happening?
Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to show a map of all the defects and all the status, and you'd be very pleased to see that the fact that 99% of the damage is repaired and done. We have been fixing some defective works and defective patches up around Tottenham this last week, and I'm of the understanding that is done now, which is great. And all that is remaining now is just acquittals and to ensure the paperwork is all submitted and we're reimbursed our last payment. So for all intents and purposes, the damage is complete. The repairs. There may be one or two patches that remain, but 99% of the work is done, Mr. Mayor.
All right, I think that answers all the questions to that. I just would someone like to move that we suspend standing orders, because we've got Brad from the Auditor's Office online to talk about the financial statements. Whoa, Councillor Rees and Councillor Brady. All those in favour that we suspend standing orders? And I'd just like to. I think Brad's online there now. I think Karen, can you see Brad or?
I can see that Brad is online. I can't actually see him at the moment, but maybe if he turns his screen on to talk, we should be able to see him.
All right. I think he's about to come. Oh, hello, Brad.
Good afternoon, Brad.
Good afternoon. How you doing? Brad's my name. I'm the auditor from the Crow. We do council's external audit, and really, Mayor, the short version is council's financial statements for June 2025 were signed and completed on Friday the 13th of March, which is really exciting. They'd been outstanding for a period of time, and at the end result is council achieved what we wanted at the start, which was a clean or unqualified opinion. From an audit perspective, we want to call out a couple of parties that helped get us to here, which was the Audit and Risk Committee. They were very engaged and understanding of the process that the finance team were going through to get to the completion phase. And then secondly, at the operational level, Karen very much was a strong supporter of all our requests and the various bits of data that were required to get to the finish line over such an extended period. So our work wouldn't be possible without the diligent support of Karen. But the audit opinion has been issued. That's enabled Karen to lodge it with the Office of Local Government. Council was actually operating under extensions of time to lodge. So technically, we lodged within the approved extension window. So your good governance track record continues in that space.
All right. Do you want you would like some questions, or you got some further information? That's exactly what you wanted to say.
That's it. Yep. And I'm happy to take questions on anything. And clearly, 2026 is just around the corner. So not much respite for Karen. But if people have got questions on the June 25 as issued. And again, one of the topics that continues to be present in your financial statements is the legacy unwinding of the natural disaster from the year before, which then makes the 2 years quite difficult to compare year on year.
Yep. No, quite true. And as you say, like we've sort of backed up from the last statement, and we've just finished this one, and as Karen has really nodded ahead about, we're going to get the next one on time by the end of October. We hope.
Yeah, we share the same plan. We're aligned.
Yeah. All right. So, any councillors like to ask any questions on the statements? It's very satisfying to know that we've got an unqualified statement, because to getting to that, it's not getting any easier every year. And I think if you do read through it, we're pretty lucky that we're in a reasonable situation compared to a lot of other councils around. But I think we've still got our head above water at this stage. So, any questions? Would you like Councillor Blewett? You're about to. Anyway.
Sorry, our financial statements were just completed on the 13th of March, and as you just said, they're nearly due to go again for the next year. Does that actually count against us as a council for not getting them in sooner?
I think Brad did touch on that. I think you might start again with that one, Brad.
Yeah, so what if you can't lodge within the normal or the originally stated deadline, Councillor, the process is you're late unless you apply to the OLG for an extension. Karen, on behalf of council, had applied for the extensions which were approved by the OLG. So whilst we were actually quite delayed in the submission, we got them lodged inside the permitted time of space that was allowed by the OLG. There are repercussions if you're not within an approved extension window. The OLG had made it very clear that we were in the last, they weren't going to give a further extension. So hence why some of the relief came with the completion at the 13th of March, because we were clear that there were no more extensions on offer for Lachlan Shire with their 25 financials.
Because I think the question also gets to, for the next lot of statements, does that come against us of putting them together when it comes down to October?
Not specifically with that. There are some negative outcomes in terms of T Corp funding applications and things like that if you haven't lodged your financial statements on time. But in terms of keeping a clean sheet, council with both an unqualified audit opinion and being on time inside the extension window means that all of the various avenues that would be available to council continue to remain open.
All right, I think that answers your question. Councillor Rees, you're flickering there.
What's the due date of the next one without a request for an extension?
31 October.
Are we on track to meet that?
As of the 25th of March, 110%.
So note the 110.
Yeah, and if I could say a little bit more through the mayor as well. The last 2 years were the only 2 years that Shire has been late in the last, well, certainly as long as I've been here. So we do have a good track record with them. And the last statements, even though they were lodged, in March, not October, we actually only had 5 months to have those statements completed. So normally that's a normal period, but remember we were already 12 months behind with the 24 being lodged about October last year, and then we've basically turned it around about 5 months. So we have definitely driven through a lot of efficiencies, both Anita and I, and learnt better ways of doing things, which is something the council hadn't done previously. So no disrespect to anyone in the past, but we looked at different ways of doing things. And so we are quite ahead. Our 26 interim audit, I've already had the request from Brad's team for a sim, who's our audit manager as such, and he's looking to make a meeting next week. So we are back on track. As I've previously discussed with councillors and put in a report to Eric, the thing that we will have for a challenge this year is the roads revaluation, given the made the $53 million impairment that we had in the 23 year due to the flood event. So that will provide us a challenge. But our valuers who are working on that are actually on site in Condobolin at the moment, and we're well underway with that process. So I don't see, bar anything unforeseen happening, I don't see any issue with meeting our timeframes.
Very good, Karen. Very good. So any further questions? I think there's certainly some positive lights there to see, and that sort of thing. But as was mentioned, those road valuations, seeing we've got 4,500 kilometres of road, does create a bit of a challenge in its own right, and especially after an event like the floods we did have down there. So you got anything else, Brad?
No, Mayor, I'm comfortable. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. If you've no further questions, thanks, Brad, and thanks for your support, and thanks to the team for helping the team. And we look forward to seeing you at the next ARIC meeting.
Thank you so much.
And I'd also like to pass on my thanks to Brad. Also, Min from the audit office. With Brad's team, we had a Sim, Charlotte, and quite a few people helping us as well. And yeah, definitely would like to pass on my vote of thanks. Everyone's gone above and beyond to help us as well.
Yep. No, well done. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming into the council meeting. It gives the council a lot of confidence. Thank you.
My pleasure. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Brad. Bye-bye.
We need to. Yeah. All right. Moving on to page 52, which is the decision reports. Oh. All right. We did move out of standing orders and that sort of thing, but I'll let you. Hello. Let you go.
Sorry, with the current fuel situation, how is that going to affect council's ability to deliver with the heavy machinery, and is it going to affect our budget bottom line?
I'll hand the general manager, but I think there might be something.
Certainly there will be additional costs going forward for council, and to meet our bottom line, we're going to have to, and we discussed this briefly during the budget briefing, but we're going to have to look at what projects we actually deliver. Sorry, Karen, you had your hand up?
Karen wants to. You finished?
Oh, no. We'll have to look at what projects can be delivered within the same budget. So, noting that there will be additional costs going forward. We've also noted that and requested that JO meetings in future can be attended online rather than driving to them. So, and we're also, with those staff that are able to work from home, allowing them increased days to work from home, providing we're still meeting the same outcomes or delivering the same outcomes, and just to save on that hit to our bottom line on fuel expenses.
So it'll be under constant review, I'd say.
Yeah.
And Karen, you want to make comment on that issue?
Yeah, thank you, through the Mayor. Yes, and just to support what the General Manager said there, obviously this is a challenge for us. When I did the budget workshop this morning, I explained to councillors that fuel had gone from $1.70, or diesel had gone from $1.70 a litre to $2.85. No sooner than I was out of the budget meeting than I received an email advising that our next fuel delivery is going to be $3.35 a litre. So yes, it is a challenge for us, but we do have some capacity in the budget, and obviously we're going to be working closely to maintain a balanced budget. So, but how long this goes on, we don't know. But yeah, we definitely are working as a team very close to ensure that we continue to remain financial.
All righty. So I think that sort of covers that. You happy with that, Councillor?
Yeah, I'm happy with the explanation. My concern is with the graders, basically, with the road maintenance program. So when you say we're going to reduce projects, I'm assuming that's what you mean.
You want to make comment on that, Adrian?
Yes, Councillor.
All right. Right, let's start moving on. It is a bit of a tight situation, that one, so it's still unfolding. Oh, sorry. Councillor Brady.
I've been staying red.
No. As long as your face doesn't go red, you will.
No, it won't go red. When we do contracts for fuel, and we've done them through the JO and so forth, are those contracts specified, or they are just like Karen just said, they can be anything when we have a crisis?
Who can answer that?
Yeah. Through the Mayor, they're tied to the bulk fuel price at the port. So, and so what our suppliers are buying it for is what we get supplied for. And because we use independent suppliers, we may at some stages also be paying a premium above the local rate. Not normally, but in times like this, where Shell and BP might be able to secure suppliers at a lower price, our independent suppliers don't have that same beauty. We do. There's never a fixed price. Sometimes it goes down, sometimes it goes up. In this case, we suffer the upside.
But it is a bulk price with
Bulk price,
with other councils. All right. Right, moving right along to page 53, General Manager, 9.1.1, Tourism and Promotion Update, February 26. Would someone like to move the recommendation? Councillor Harris, Councillor Brady. Any items there? Looks like the numbers might have come off a little bit in February, but you can expect that. But I think it is still going at a very great rate. So any questions? Do you have any update?
Is it they're getting?
Hang on. Start again, mate. You're right, you're on. You just turned yourself off. Right.
I said they should have been congratulated on the numbers they're getting, because I go over there probably once a week at least, and there's always quite a lot of people there from away, out of town, who have come to look at the, mainly have come down from Forbes, followed the trail, and then go and have a look at the utes and the paddock. And the Jockeys Memorial, which we don't aren't promoting as much as we should be. But anyway.
No.
No.
Thanks for that comment. It's very fair.
Yeah. God, how many jockeys have been killed?
Yeah. Very true. All right. There's no further comment on that. Councillor Rees.
I just following up if we've had any response from Transport New South Wales and Service New South Wales about having the information centre appear on the rest stop maps and stuff that I asked for last meeting.
That's the General Manager, the comment.
Thank you, Councillor Rees. I will follow that up.
Actually. All right, if there's no further questions, all those in favour of that recommendation? Those against, those carried. Right, now to page 60, 9.1, a letter of support to the Motel Development 50 Lachlan Street, Condavid. Could Peter Harris leave the room, please? I just wanted to say that. Did I give you a lever and
Oh, okay.
Not this one, it should be the sunrise page.
Okay.
Did I do it?
We'll note that.
Well, no. Oops. Did I get a mover and second for that?
Sorry, I didn't see.
No. Did I? Can someone move that recommendation, please? Councillor Rees and Councillor Mortimer. All right. You certainly do, mate. Hang on. Away you go.
Can we just add to the letter about why we currently need it with all of the motels being full, the current contractors that are here? Because we've written about what we're expected to have, but we need to add something in there about how it's needed now because of the amount of workers and visitors that are coming into town now. I think the letter, I don't have it in front of me, but it speaks to what is to come, why we need it, but we need it now, like the impact that is happening now. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
How important it is that we have this development.
Yeah, just wanted to add that into the letter.
Yep. You happy with that, General Manager?
Yeah, excellent comment. We'll incorporate something there. Thank you.
Right. Any other comments on the recommendation? I think Councillor Lewitt.
Just for our community, can the General Manager or relevant Director explain why this isn't a conflict of interest for the Council to write a supporting letter, because the DA, they may think the DA is coming to Lachlan Shire Council when it's not, so if I could just have an overview of that for the community.
You want to do that one, Patrick?
Thanks. Through the Mayor. So the way it goes, it was lodged with Lachlan Shire Council, indeed, but it was immediately handed over to Penrith City Council to do the assessment, due to the fact that indeed Lachlan Shire Council has got a conflict of interest, as the council is still the owner of the property in question. This also then means that the decision maker of this is not Penrith City Council or Lachlan Shire Council, but the Western Regional Planning Panel. That planning panel is, despite the planning reform, still in place and will be the decision maker on this application. The second reason why that is the case is not only the council owns the land, but that the development value is over $5 million as well, which is a second trigger for it to go to the regional planning panel. So while officers are liaising with the applicant and the panel and Penrith City Council, officers have no decision-making powers in this application and do not assess the application either. So the assessment is done by Penrith City Council and the decision will be made by the Western Regional Planning Panel.
Right.
And thank you. Through the Mayor, if I may just add one point. There's, it's not uncommon. We're still an interested party and it doesn't breach our conflict of interest to make a submission to the planning panel. Yeah.
Right. Answers your question, Councillor?
Thank you.
Any other questions on the... All right. All those in favour? Those against? Those carried? Now the page starts... Oh, it's here. Someone like to find Peter? Welcome back, Pete. Page 62, 9.1.3, Sunrise Project Voluntary Planning Agreement, VPA variation. Would someone like to move the recommendation, please? Councillor Rees and Councillor Harris.
Now, Mr Mayor, I'm on the committee for CCC here. I don't know if that means I have that's what I meant to put down on
I don't think so.
Yeah.
No, this is Sunrise, which I'm on the committee. I'm on there as a member of the Chamber of Commerce, not as a councillor.
Yeah. I'd suggest you've recognised the conflict of interest. It's non-pecuniary and non-significant, and you may stay in the room for the discussion.
I would have thought so.
Can I add to the discussion?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, no, just, that's why I put that down.
Change it to 3 then.
Yesterday afternoon, I was reading all this again. I must have just put down the wrong number. Yep, okay.
All right. You got a question now? Or?
Yeah, look, I do have a question on these VPAs. And as we know, you only have one go at them. And if you don't get it right the first time, it's very hard to apply again to have it increased. As far as I'm concerned, we're about 50% below what we should be. And this comes from the fact when I was involved and the council was involved with the Lake Cowal, and we didn't get anything out of the Lake Cowal, even though we have a lot of impact from the Lake Cowal with transport and so forth using our roads, and we're right beside it, and also quite a lot of people work there who come out of Condobolin and so forth. So we virtually got nothing out of the Lake Cowal. We don't get anything very out of the one at Mineral Hill because it was done in a period before VPAs were the original project, before VPAs came about, so we don't get anything out of that. So I believe that if we're going to this project, it's been going on for 25 years under different names and different people, and now they have come to the conclusion that they can't come up with 2.4 billion to set up the original project. Also, there's plenty of nickel cobalt around the world, and China actually controls most of it. So they then decided to go to scandium, and scandium is also a very profitable product to be taking out. As you can see, they're only taking out 60 tonnes a year. They expect at least 20 odd years. So my recommendation is we double what you are asking for the VPA. So we go to 400,000, 212,000 and 60,000 a year at least. And that is not asking too much because, as I said, you only have one chance of getting it. Once it's done, it's done. And we're not going to get the amount of money, nor the amount of work, or the amount of contributions from a lot of the work's going to be done in parks. So we're not going to get everything that we could have probably would have got if the original mine was going ahead. So that is my recommendation, that we go to 400,000, double everything there, and see if we can do that. If not, well then,
Well,
up to everybody
I'll
else.
get the General Manager to make comment.
Yep.
Thank you, and through the chair. They, just to make councillors aware, they already have an agreed voluntary planning agreement for the nickel, cobalt, and scandium project as a whole. That as a whole would be less than double of these numbers. So they could always go back to that existing agreement. What we've got in this modification is also a 5-year review period. So if they choose to, like they've initially assessed it as a 60 tonne per annum mine, if they double that or some other number, and the effect is greater than the effect on our roads and what have you is greater than what they've predicted, then we can always review that as well. And we have a clause for review in there. This is a significant win from where we started from. The initial community enhancement contribution was being discussed around the $80,000 as a total, of which the split is for Lachlan would have been half of that, which is $40,000, and then Parks and Forbes would have shared the other 40, so 20,000 each for them. So we've gone from a 50% share of $80,000 to a 50% share of $200,000. So we've significantly increased from our base amount. I'd certainly recommend approving this and putting it on public exhibition for the 28 days.
In 5 years, but in 5 years' time, it'll still be hard to get an increase. Once you've got it set, it's going to be very hard to increase the value of it. And as I said, we got done on Lake Cow, so this is the time that we should be looking at what we can get, and we're only going to get 100,000. We're not getting 200,000.
That's correct.
But isn't it like what you've said there about the VPA, in the fact that this is to do with the scandium, and if they go into nickel, cobalt, or anything else, that have to be reviewed from then?
Yeah, if this is part 1, if they went to part 2 as they proposed into the future, where they mine nickel and cobalt, then the original agreement comes into force, and it does go up to that 400,000 per year, which we receive a 50% share of for community enhancement contributions.
So that sort of covers what you're saying.
Yeah.
All right, as you know, we have done
Yeah.
and we've never had a chance to get it done.
But this,
I don't want to see us happen again. We're already not getting what I believe is the fair share from even from employment basis, because of the employees are going to be stationed in parks. They're not going to get a lot of that as well. So that's why I reckon we should be getting the maximum that we can get. It's up to everybody else. That's just my opinion.
Right, any further comment from the floor? Benita? Sure.
Accept the recommendation to put it on display for 28 days, and you could make that comment after the public display period? Or do you want to move the amount now?
Oh, well, I myself, I'd rather double everything. But if everybody's happy to go with that, I'll go along with it. So I don't, I just that what I'm doing, I'm going back 20 odd years when we had trouble with the Lake Cowal, and we never got anything out of it because we went too softly on what we should have been trying to get. We get a small contribution from Lake Cowal every 3 years, $120,000, whatever it is. Anyway, I just find that if we don't try and get the maximum we can get, that like they are spending the money to do this project. The small amount of money we're going to be taking is only small change.
Well, I think what you're saying there, but we do have the flexibility within this VPA, which you wouldn't have had with the Lake Cowal, and the thing is, it's only on one item, and it's going. Just Benita just said it is going out in 28 days.
Okay.
I think it's fair what Councillor Brady is saying. I do know what you're talking about. I understand that.
But whatever the majority is, I'll go along with it. But I mean, I just want everyone to understand that it's very hard to go up again once you've made your agreement.
I think we've done pretty well to get what we've got so far and have the flexibility in what we can do in the future. So any councillor.
And so the recommendation here also says resolves that Lachlan Shire Council will not execute the deed until Parks and Forbes have resolved to adopt as well.
Yeah.
So they might come back with something different. So we'll just put it on display for the public period and see what comments we get.
Okay, that's all right. I don't mind.
Righto.
I just had to give you what I feel.
Yep.
And consider your comment, yeah.
Yep. You've done that.
And I've been on these committees for a long time.
Yep. Councillor Blewett.
So the figures here, are these the ones that like Sunrise has agreed to? Is that why we're putting them forward, or are these our figures that we've just come up with?
Excellent point, Councillor. And through the Mayor, if I may comment, that these figures are what's been negotiated with Sunrise Energy Metals between the three councils of Forbes, Parks and Lachlan. And if we were to double them, it wouldn't necessarily, like this is a voluntary planning agreement, if we were to unilaterally propose to double them, doesn't necessarily mean that Sunrise Energy Metals would agree to that doubling. Yeah.
All right. I think that's answered all the questions. Oh, sorry, Robin?
Can I just have clarification just from what I wrote down, and so I could be wrong. So it was to be half 200,000. Then it was also for the roads was half of 160k.
106, yes.
Oh, 106, yeah, well, my fault, yep. And then it was also 30k for a project or an extra?
During the construction period of 2 years, 30k per year to facilitate that construction.
Okay. But I also had 720k over 2 years in 3 payments.
Yeah, very good point, and thank you for picking it up, because I didn't explain that earlier. So this is an additional community enhancement contribution for Lachlan Shire Council only. It picks up on the change in rating of some years back, where they went from initially from farmland to then mining, and then through application got it reduced back to farmland again as a rating category. But in that process, we'd already levied and had to credit Sunrise Energy Metals, and there was a loss of income during that financial year. So this is recognises that that previous loss and corrects it. And I'd like to point out that both Forbes and Parks Council were only happy to move forward if Lachlan Council was recompense for that loss. So I need to point out and thank both Forbes and Parks Council for their support in reaching this conclusion. I think it's very good. I think it's a very good result for Lachlan Shire Council. Thank you, Robin.
All right, so you're going well.
So with the amounts, you're saying it's voluntary. So if we did put it up to, say, Councillor Brady's suggestions, what's the problem with that? Because they can just say no.
I guess what I'm putting forward to you is that it's already been through a process where we've increased it substantially from their first offer. I feel this is an offer that I can recommend to council to accept. Doubling these values wouldn't necessarily, well, it certainly wouldn't be accepted because it would be potentially more than the phase 1 and phase 2 voluntary planning agreement, which they've already got in place. So we're talking about a number that's in excess of that. On this basis, I'm putting it forward as a recommendation to advertise. I don't think it's a I don't think there's like a nothing lost, nothing gained approach by putting in a double this value request, because if we were to do that, it slows down their financial investment decision process. So, and potentially slows down this mine coming onto market as well.
And I think the other side of it too, General Manager, is that you've negotiated with Forbes and Parks.
Yes.
And also that we've got a recompense on the rates that we missed out on, and that is all a part of that agreement. And if we did went back with a double amount or whatever, I'd say they might end up putting that in jeopardy, that rate recompense of what we're going to get. But as you say, like it's going out in 20. Are you? I'll get a bit.
This is very loud.
It's loud there, and you can't.
No, the air conditioner's.
Oh, sorry. Right. Yeah.
It's hard to hear.
I'm usually hard to hear anyway. Is that coming over louder there? Yeah. Like talk.
It's not coming out of here, really.
No.
Because they used to come out of here.
Yeah, but no, it's a different setup. So, did you hear anything I did say? No, down. Just supporting what the General Manager just said there, that we'd have to end up going back to Parks and Forbes and renegotiating, and also I think it would actually, with the recompense on the rates that we lost and we're getting back, and that sort of thing, that'd have to be all renegotiated and that sort of thing. But I still feel that we've gone through the process, and the thing is it's still flexible, and the fact that there's still mine's still got to go through stages. And we do get a chance to actually, things might even double in that time. Who knows what's going to happen? But we do have that option to actually go and renegotiate. I think that's the important thing for a start. And who knows what's going to come in on the 28 days. So, any further questions? If not, all those in favour? Those against? Those carried. Right, now to page 65, 9.2, the corporate and community services, community donations and event support. Would someone like to move the recommendation? Who was it? Councillor Harris, wasn't Councillor Turner? Sounds like that's the way it runs today. All right, you've got it in front of you there, and I think most of them are Anzac Day, except the last one. I think because all those Anzac Day ones are like in kind for supporting Anzac Day with the staff and etc. It's not that they're getting extra money. And the last one there, council provide financial support to Lake Jellicoe Anglers Easter camp out. I think that is that an annual event? So any questions on that? Oh, right, go on.
Not a question. full support of supporting Anzac Day. No
Yep.
dramas with that. My question sits with, we've only been here for 8 years, but every year we have the same 4 applications come in that the committees have to do for Anzac Day in-kind support. We have a byline in our budget for NAIDOC Week celebrations, which we allocate and it goes out automatically to our communities for NAIDOC Week celebrations, similar for Australia Day celebrations. It's just there. The committee running it has access to that money. Is there not a reason we can do the same for Anzac Day, which would then stop Condo RSL, the Tottenham Welfare people, the Lake Jellicoe Dawn Service being able to fill something in every year? I just feel like it's monotonous paperwork when we know Anzac Day happens every year. We're in support of it every year. They probably ask for the same thing every year.
Well, I'll just ask Karen to answer that question for you. She's got her hand up and she's feverishly waving it. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And yeah, good question, Councillor Rees. I have had that discussions previously, and at that time it was suggested no, but we council could suggest we do that as part of the budget process. If you wish, we could put an allocation in for Anzac Day, like as you said we do for Australia Day, but I will need to discuss that further with the GM.
What? Go on.
I just feel like it sits outside of community donation / fundraising. I feel it's an event that as a Shire wide we should support, and I just don't believe it probably needs to sit within community donations. It should just be, even if we look at the last 5 years, what they've asked for and with indexation or whatever, just accumulate that each year. If they don't run it like we did in COVID, then that is just absorbed back into our working budget. I just feel like it's probably something that could eliminate a step there and support the community.
I think that's been noted, because I think Anzac Day is pretty well standard. I don't think there's usually too many changes unless the application has got a complete change the way Anzac Day goes about. That's about the only reason. Down the track. All right. If there's no, and I think you definitely support the Lake Jellicoe Anglers Easter Camp out. Yep, no problem. Yep, all together. Right, all those in favour? Those against? That is carried. Right, now to page 70. Draft 4-year strategic internal audit plan for 25 to 29. Would someone like to move the recommendation, please? Councillor Harris, and the seconder was Turner. I had the feeling I'd get to the end there somewhere. Right, any comments on that, Karen? Anything there you want to about the internal audit plan? Do you want any comment?
Thank you, and through the Mayor. Not really. This has been through the Audit and Risk Committee, and it's been also discussed internally with AREC. So it is something we are required to have in place. So we were basically waiting for this to be adopted so that we can put out our expression of interest for our internal auditor. We'll be seeking a new 4-year term from the 1st of July 26. So if Council's happy to progress this, then we can move on with that process as well.
All right, any questions on that? I think it's a procedural thing. If not, all those in favour? Those against? That is carried. Now to page 73, 9.2.3, adoption of the annual report 25 and the audited financial statements for the year ended the 30th of June 2025. And would someone like to move that recommendation with glee? Councillor Harrison, secondly Councillor Brady. Right, so I think we're lucky enough to have Brad from the audit, but I think Karen would like to make a statement. Thank you, Karen.
Yeah, through the Mayor, thank you. I'm not sure if she's still with us, but I'd just like to compliment and thanks to Marie for all the work she did on the annual report. The staff all do provide documents to her, but she makes it look beautiful. So, yeah, thanks very much for her professional presentation. So hopefully she's still with you in the chambers at the moment.
Yep, she's there smiling. You're right. Yep. Okay. Juanita.
Question. I don't know whether it was relevant to that auditor fellow that was here earlier, but it was just about the asset reevaluations that are overdue for 2 years. So what's the impact of that depreciation and those values? Like, is the current depreciation adequately reflecting the asset use and the future replacement needs? Like, that's one question.
Yep, got it. One question at a time. Right, Karen, I think you can answer that one for Nita.
Well, thank you through the mayor, and thank you, Councillor Coleman. That's a good question. It's not overdue by 2 years. They were due for the 30th of June 25. So it is it will be by the 12 months is up. However, that has already previously been discussed, agreed with Council, Audit and Risk Committee and OLG. And the reason why we have delayed that is we were given the cost of the roads revaluation, which is, up to a substantial sum of money. What we didn't want to put a lot of effort and resources and community money, and our roads revaluation costs more than $50,000 to do, and that's without staff time. And so we actually had an agreement to defer it to the new year. In terms of how it will impact our depreciation, Council has been increasing, making an annual increase via indexation to its asset base. So that's basically using the Roads and Bridges Construction Index, which is what's required under the Office of Local Government. So we are obviously making attempts to keep that up to date. You will probably find quite a change in the value, not necessarily upwards, it just depends, because our impairment was 53 million. But yes, so Council is actually doing what it is required to do to try and keep its assets at the correct value. Depending, there will be a bit of a hit to depreciation, as in increase. In the last few years, these items have already been capitalised, as in they're already included in our depreciation, but we've had some very substantial assets for our roads, like the Smyths culverts. They were only a very small, as you would know before, a very small thing, and now you've got a massive culvert, the Nuri's been replaced, and things like that. So they will have an ongoing impact, but we have made an allowance for indexation, which is the normal process in between revaluations.
Right, off you go.
When will the revaluation be completed, and will it affect the timing of the financials for this year?
No, it won't affect the timing of the revaluations. The financial statement sign off. So the revaluations are already underway. Our valuer is actually on site in Condobolin at the moment. There's been numerous meetings already between myself, Adrian, Peter, our assets engineer, and the auditors, and also the Shepherds, who is actually doing the roads revaluation. So well underway.
All right, does that answer your questions, Councillor? All done. Any further? Councillor Harris? You're away.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to publicly thank Karen and all the staff, Anita, for a great job that's been done, because I think in the end of the day, the most important thing about all of this is that word unqualified.
Yep.
That's it. Unqualified. That's what we want. That's what we've had in the past. That's hopefully we'll continue on with the good work, and I think that's where I'll leave it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Harris. And yeah, I think part of our good relationship with the Audit Office and New South Wales Audit Office and our auditors does help when you do come with these situations and you do need to make some agreements. They did understand why we didn't want to spend a significant portion of communities' money in the 25 year and then again in the 26 is what we'd be required to do once all the flood works are tidied up. So yeah, thank you for that.
All right, thank you very much for all that, and we shall look forward to the next one very quickly down there. All right, all those in favour of that recommendation, those against, that is carried. All right, 76 environmental planning, it says nil, but we'll go to page 72, infrastructure services, review of loading zones, McDonald and Bathurst Street. Would someone like to move the recommendation, please? Councillor Harris and Councillor Blewett. Any comment from the floor? Anyone? Any other update or as read? As written. All right. I think this is sort of a follow-up anyway. All right. All those in favour? Those against? It's carried. and may that continue working the way it should. Righto, to page 84. Delegates report, Central West JO board meeting, which was held in Grenfell. Would someone like to move the recommendation, please? Councillor Harris, Councillor Turner. All right. Any questions from the floor? Re that meeting, that was actually the first meeting for the year, that one of the JO. All right, Councillor Turner, would you like?
Sorry, it's not a question, it's a comment, but I take it to be the New South Wales Government's quote new approach, regional New South Wales, where 84 LGAs are all going to be put together, lumped together. My interpretation, correct or not?
Yes, that is the current proposal. That is going to be advertised soon. It was advertised and we made a submission on that, I should say. And in the submission, firstly, the proponents, being the department, were invited to actually venture out into the regions and experience them for themselves. And it was also pointed out that one of the reasons mentioned that 84 local governments should be grouped under one regional plan was the interconnectedness between those regions. And I found some difficulty to see the interconnectedness between, let's say, Darling Shire and Byron Bay, which I bring up as an example. There is not many people that commute between those two or that regularly visit one or the other. So I questioned the whole concept of interconnectedness that was displayed in the discussion paper. Furthermore, this has been discussed at the JO level as well, especially to the point of, if we are going to group larger regions together, could we at least separate out coastal and inland to some extent, to at least find some interconnectedness indeed between certain places. So currently, under the current regional plan, we are part of the Central West Orana. So it basically groups us with the current JO plus the Orana region centered around Dubbo. So Bland and Carrathul and Cobar are not included in those. So they're in different regional plans as well. But at least it gives us the opportunity to be part of a smaller group and have a distinct chapter within that document to be recognized as a region as such. Subsequently, the Department of Planning, Housing and Infrastructure commissioned a consultant to update some of the statements so that they might have some underlying documents that are individualized to a local government level, but again, then it will be just one out of 84. And again, that was voiced as a concern that this will dilute the standing of any of the smaller local governments significantly, whereby in a document where we are part of, let's say, 15 local governments, it's a bit more distinguishable. So that has certainly been voiced in the submissions in the submission as well as at the JO level and through the consultants. Thanks.
All right, so that answers your question, as there is a little bit of opposition to it. It's sort of going in a big circle, is the way I see it, to not helping us one iota down the track there. Councillor Harris, I've got a funny feeling you've got a red light going now, you have a green.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm just interested to know why, I may be reading this incorrectly, but why the state government and the Office of Local Government want to have JOs dissolved. Because that's one of three options: continue under its current structure, refresh its membership and structure, or dissolve. What was, I thought originally state government was what they wanted JOs set up, maybe under a different political persuasion at the time, to move ROCs into JOs, and now there's mention of, you know, possible restructures, membership changes, etc., etc. So what is actually happening behind the scenes with all this regarding JOs in the future?
Thank you, an excellent question. not all areas have been able to form a JO and become incorporated. Our JO works well, or we feel it's working well. So the board unanimously agreed to stay as a JO, but in part of that, the original intent of forming JOs was that we could actually consolidate some of the stakeholder engagement through the JO for some of the state organisations. Now, to a lot of extent, where they've bought out regional water plans and what have you, we've been actively involved, and the JO's been actively involved in providing that stakeholder support back to the various departments of state government. But we have never seen, and what was expected, was some support from the state government to recognise the role that JOs were undertaking. So there's no financial support from the state government for doing their stakeholder engagement on their behalf, essentially. So we've put a submission back along those lines that we want to stay a JO, and we support the original intent of forming JOs to streamline some of that stakeholder engagement process with the different departments. We'd like to see that continue. It appears, because it hasn't been able to work unilaterally across the whole state, that at this stage they're just doing a litmus test, I guess, to see what each council wants to do. And unfortunately, the arrangement will probably be that we a voluntary arrangement around the JO, or a ROC, or an individual council that doesn't necessarily part of any of those arrangements. So who knows what the state will determine in that space. But the original intent of forming JOs was a good intent, and particularly if it was going to be supported with state government funding to recognise the significant cost savings for state government departments in liaising with a JO rather than in every individual council on different plans.
I think can I just say about the JO and the fact that that ours is just that successful. It does show up. It always has been a successful JO. You know, it's been the shining light of any JO in the state. But the other thing which they're sort of litmus testing as well is that maybe we should be a little bit more open, and some of our neighbours might want to become a member or an associate member of our JO. So that's another issue which they're throwing around, and also that, like the JO now, we sort of stand alone in the fact when we were Centrock, we had to rely on another council like a 355 committee to actually operate. Now we're doing it on our own, because the other thing which is coming with the JO now too is ARIC is a part of it as well. We've got to go through the same sort of thing that we do, the Shire, and that sort of thing. So that sort of makes us a bit more individual. And I think the other thing we just got to realise that, like, how much we do save. We've got something like 20, I think it's 20 contracts, like with the JO where we make savings, and they're negotiating quite a few more to actually try and help the councils within the JO to save money and that sort of thing as it goes along. But I think we'll do everything we can to try and keep it going, because I think we do get great interaction, because we go from basically here to Lithgow and south, and I think it's a very great working relationship we have with mayors and that sort of thing, and I think it's pretty important that we do it, and I think we do get a fairly good saving out of a JO. So I just feel that hopefully we can keep it going, and to whether the state government's trying to dissolve us, I don't think they are. They've got too many issues to worry about without worrying about what we're doing to try and negotiate with them. Does that help you, Councillor? Red light coming up, Dennis.
Mike Green. So it says the Minister is seeking a response from JOs. He hasn't actually said what he wants, has he? He's only asking for responses from all of us, whether solve, whether we go on and restructure or leave it as it is.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. The-
He's wanting us to make.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And I think we've firmly said what we want to do, what we'd like to do. Yeah. And the other thing is we'd just like a little bit more support from the state government. That'd be a great idea. That would help down there. Alrighty. If there's any more questions on the... So it'll be interesting what Ian said too, the JO big online.
Yeah.
I sort of worry about the fuel crisis is creating that and that sort of thing, but you know, I'm sort of one person, you know, that the face-to-face is how we get the better business done and that sort of thing, but if we're restricted, and we've got to do that, hopefully it's only for a short period of time down the track. All right, all those in favour? Those against? That is carried. Thank you. All right, let's go to page, somewhere here, page 92. I think we're up to correspondence. Would someone like to move the correspondence? Councillor Harris, second. Councillor Turner, you've got the numbers up today. All right, we've got the first one, local health district amendment to splitting. I think we talked about that one before. I don't think we actually I don't think there's been any more development on that, has there?
No, just there's a reply there.
Yeah. All right, and Jamie Chaffey with the increased income support payments, and also Jamie with the letter of the Shire from the budget submissions, and a thank you letter with the International Day-long lunch, which was a thank you letter. So, is any questions on any of those letters? You'd like to just move them as the mover and second are happy with that? That's all right. All those in favour then? Those against? That is carried. Now, up to 15 on page 93, questions on which notice has been given is nil. 16 is petitions, which is nil. And we shall move over to closed session. Would someone like to move us into closed? Brady, Councillor Mortimer. And that is carried. And now I'll ask our General Manager to read the recommendations that were moved in closed session. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. We had two items considered in closed. 17.1, short-term licence, Stable 6.
Is your thing on?
Just before. Sorry, we had two items considered in close. 17.1, short-term licence, Stable 6, SRA grounds, Condobolin. The recommendation was the Executive Manager Finance and Governance Report R26-43 be received and noted. That Council resolves to offer a short-term licence to Linda McCartan for South Forbes Road Reserve Trust, reserve number R89343, known as Part Lot 7302 DP 1166993, Stable 6 of the SRA grounds, as shown within the red line on the map attached to the short-term licence at a licence fee of $35 per week, including GST, plus water consumption for the maximum term of 12 months, a bond of 2 weeks' rent, and a copy of the licensee's public liability insurance is required. The licence fee is required to be paid annually in advance, and that 3, the General Manager be authorised to sign the licence document. Item 17.2, a late report on the quotation assessment for the Condobolin SRA Netball Court resurfacing. The resolution was that the late report from the Director of Infrastructure Services be received and noted. The submission from Eldon Sporting Areas be accepted, and the Mayor and the General Manager be authorised to execute the contract documents. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very kindly.